All right, it's Grand Slam season. And you know what time that is? That means it's French Open time. It's the Clay Grand Slam, the biggest tournament since the Australian Open, and the draw's out. So we're going to break it down as we always do. We get deep into the draw. We look at routes to the final for the big guys, who the quarterfinal matchups would be in a perfect world, where everyone is at in the draw, and dark horses first round matchups. There's a lot to get into. Djokovic is the 6th seed, and Sinner is the number 1 seed on the top. Alcaraz is the number 2 seed on the bottom. So that means they are set up to meet in the final if all went to plan, but nothing ever does at the French Open or at any major. So we're going to get into it. This is the slice presented by Betway. Let's break down this draw, and I'll give you my prediction for who will win. All right, welcome back to the Slice, everyone. Thanks for being here. If you have not yet, smash the subscribe button because we're going to be putting out content almost daily throughout the fortnight, the next 2 weeks, covering the French Open from here in Canada. Thanks to our sponsors in Betway. Betway is the best place to bet on the tennis if you're going to do it responsibly. They have an amazing app where we put out exclusive content on there. So head over to the Betway feed and the Betway app to play responsibly and check out the odds for the French Open. Also, shout out to our French Open sponsor, Go Sport. We've been using their tennis bags for a long time here. I have personally, and I can vouch for how amazing they are. It's a family-run company. They have subtle logo, clean designs. They have extremely durable materials and zippers, and ample customizable store organization. You can get 10% off during the French Open. Use the code FrenchSlice10 for a 10% discount. Now is the best time to get yourself a Go Sport bag and become a serious tennis player. So, thanks to the sponsors, thanks to you for being here, and thanks to the French Open for existing because it's always such a great event. There is more chaos, I feel like, because less players know how to play on the clay at a high level than a hard court, for example. And there's always clay court specialists who come out and have dangerous runs here, taking out seeds. But really, the storyline coming into this one for me on the men's side is Sinner versus Alcaraz. They just played in the Rome final. Alcaraz getting his 4th victory in a row over Sinner. So can Sinner answer back, essentially? He's the number 1 player in the world. He's just spent 3 months off, and now he's back, and he's kind of been, or he definitely has been the most dominant player over the last year and a half on the ATP Tour. But now it's showing that Alcaraz kind of has his number when they match up head to head. So that's going to be interesting, and I am pleased that they are on the opposite sides of the draw. Speaking of where people are at in the draw, on the top quarter, we've got Sinner as the number 1 seed. We've got Draper as the 5th seed, so they're in the same quarter. Zverev, the 3rd seed. Djokovic, the 6th seed. They're in the second quarter. Djokovic has won this title 3 times. Zverev and Djokovic could face off in the quarterfinals. They faced off in the semifinals of the Australian Open, but Zverev really hasn't been able to put 2 matches together for the most part of the year since then. So we will see. Then in the third quarter, Fritz is quarter. He's the 4th seed. He'll play Musetti in a perfect world in the quarterfinals. And then Casper Ruud, the 7th seed, is in Alcaraz's quarter as the second quarter. So that's kind of the structure. Sinner on the top, Alcaraz on the bottom, and Draper on the top, Zverev on the top, Djokovic on the top. So to me, there's more heavy hitters in a way on the top. Slightly. I think Draper is more dangerous than Fritz on the clay, to be honest. And Zverev is someone who I thought could win, or I know can win if he plays up to the level he can, which he hasn't been, like I said. And obviously Djokovic could win if he was able to find his form. He's won 24 majors. I'm never going to say that he can't because that would be crazy. On the bottom, Musetti, I think he could win. If he doesn't have to go through Alcaraz, I think he can beat almost anyone in the draw. So that we'll have to wait and see on that. But and Casper Ruud and Alcaraz's quarter, tough for him, but Ruud beat Alcaraz in Barcelona, but this is a 5-set. These are 5-set matches, and this is a different beast. Let's just be honest. So, okay, let's go through the routes to or let's just look at each quarter, I would say, and then we'll go through the routes and we'll kind of do it at the same time. So let me throw the draw up on the screen. This is the top corner, the center quarter, with Draper bookmarking it at the bottom. So as you can see, Sinner has to play Rinderknech in the first round, a Frenchman in France, always a little tricky. And then he would play another Frenchman, either Terence Atmane or Richard Gasquet. So both wild cards. Gasquet would be, I believe it's his last French Open. So that would be a lot of pomp and circumstance. But then he would, to get his first seeded player in the third round, he would play Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. Shouldn't be a problem for Sinner, I don't think. Obviously, ADF is a dangerous player, but I feel like he's more dangerous against players who tend to beat themselves, which Sinner is not that. So no huge issues there so far. Then in the fourth round, he can either play Arthur Fils or Andrei Rublev. So again, this is the type of quality player you're going to have to play in the fourth round. Andrei Rublev slipped. His ranking 17. Fils is 14. And that's where it's at. I feel like Fils is on the come up. Andrei Rublev is on the come down. But I think Fils playing his best, bullying, strong, heavy tennis could be difficult for Sinner for sure in the fourth round. So that's, I think, maybe where it gets real for Sinner. And then Draper has Hurkacz and Fonseca in his quarter there, or his 8th or 16th there. He'll play Mattia Bellucci first. And then he's got Fonseca, like I said, Hurkacz in his 16th. He's got Jakub Mensik, who I feel is probably the dark horse in this quarter. I mean, Fonseca really would be a dark horse if you take the true meaning of a dark horse, probably meaning that they're not seeded. But so yeah, Fonseca is playing Hurkacz in the first round, so that could be an quick exit for Fonseca or a quick exit for Hurkacz, to be honest. So that's a first round match that you'd want to mark. But then Alex de Minaur is in there as well as the 9th seed. So the Demon is in Draper's 8th, and that's a huge fourth round match if they were to play. So that's a look at Sinner's quarter. Again, he'll have to go through probably Draper or de Minaur, and then also either Zverev or Djokovic to get to the final. So looking at the Zverev quarter here now, he's got Djokovic, the Novak Djokovic, 24-time major winner Novak Djokovic in his quarter. So that's obviously a tough quarter just by definition, but then he has to play Lerner Tien in the first round. So with the form that Zverev's been in, is Lerner Tien going to be like the upset king that he has been? He took out Daniil Medvedev at the Australian Open. Taking out Zverev at the French Open would be like a similar feat, I feel like. So I'm not really 100% sure how good Tien is on the clay, but that's an interesting matchup for sure. I would bookmark that, Zverev and Tien in the first round. Then he could play Jesper de Jong, and then he could play Felix Auger-Aliassime. For our guy, Felix Auger-Aliassime, I love that matchup. Zverev versus Felix. Zverev is vulnerable right now, and Felix is hungry to get some form. So Zverev has all the pressure there. He said he has dreamt about winning the French Open. And Felix will have a chance to, if he can get there to the third round, spoil that. Who else is in the Zverev 8th? He's got Dimitrov and Sarundalo, as well as another Canadian, Gabriel Diallo. And then in the Djokovic 8th, he'll play Mackenzie McDonald first, and then probably Corentin Moutet, and then probably Denis Shapovalov, unless he loses to Pedro Martinez, which is definitely possible. But Shapovalov, Djokovic in a third round at the French Open on clay would be fascinating for sure. Dennis does not love the clay for sure, but he has beaten Rafa Nadal on the clay before, for example, in Rome. So anything is possible, I would say, especially with the form that Djokovic is in. Who else? Dark horses. Yeah, Wawrinka's there in this quarter. And that's probably who I would say is the main dark horse. And yeah, so Djokovic is Zverev, same quarter they could play in the quarterfinals, and I don't even know how to mark that one down because I feel like it's such a different time than it was when they played at the Australian Open. Zverev started the year great, was looking extremely dangerous, ended up winning that match, obviously with Djokovic withdrawing, but Djokovic's level has dropped off significantly since then. So really hard to predict what's going to happen in that one. But we got to get there first. So we'll cross that bridge when we freaking get to it. Love that bailout there for me. Okay, bottom half. Top quarter is the Fritz quarter with Musetti as the 8th seed. Holger Rune's in there. Francis Tiafoe, Sebastian Korda, Alex Mickelson, Mahach, Brandon Nakashima. Lots of great players, but definitely maybe the most opportunity of a quarter for anyone in there. You got dark horses like Jensen Brooksby. You got all these clay court players like Kamensana, Botic van de Zandschulp, Riley Opelka. Tons of players who can cause an upset. So yeah. So Fritz on the clay. How confident are we? To me, this is more like Lorenzo Musetti's quarter. He'll play a qualifier or lucky loser, and then he's got Nakashima, Mahach, Holger Rune versus Musetti. Musetti could happen in the 4th round. That'd be huge. But yeah, Musetti, favorable draw, I think, to make the semifinals to play Alcaraz there. And that would be the ultimate challenge, obviously, wouldn't it? So good draw for Musetti. And I obviously talked about him lots pre-tournament as someone I think can do well here. Then we got the bottom quarter, Carlos Alcaraz, the man of the hour versus Casper Ruud. To be clear, I believe Carlos Alcaraz is the favorite to win the French Open. I think that's clear after him winning Rome. I think that's clear after him winning it last year. So is it the field versus Carlos Alcaraz? I don't think so. I think Sinner has a very good shot of doing this as well, but I do think Alcaraz is the favorite. So as the favorite, he will play Katie Shikori in the first round. Tough. Luca Nardi or Fabio Marijan in the next round. I mean, Katie Shikori is tough, but let's be honest, with Alcaraz right now at his power levels, it's all up to Alcaraz on how he plays. Then he could play Impeshi Pericard, who's the 31st seed, which would be a cakewalk for Alcaraz in all respect. Felix Auger-Aliassime just fairly easily beat Giovanni Impeshi Pericard, GMPH, as I like to say. Really, he's searching for his game, and on the clay, I feel like it's going to be his worst surface because it slows down his serve enough for guys to get rackets on it, and then he's in trouble. Tsitsipas, the 20th seed there. Crazy to say. He could play Ben Shelton in the 3rd round, and then the winner of that could play Alcaraz in the 4th round. Tsitsipas, again, I still believe that he has the ability to win the French Open in him, but in the headspace he's in right now, I can't. Yeah, it's really hard to see it happening, especially going through Alcaraz so early on. Then Tommy Paul, the 12th seed, is on the top half of this quarter. He could play Casper Ruud in the 4th round. That would be a great matchup. Tommy Paul would have to go through maybe Karen Khachanov, and then Casper Ruud would have to go through Popyrin. But I think there's a pretty good chance we see the Paul Casper Ruud final, and then the winner playing Alcaraz in the quarterfinal there, which I think is cool. So yeah, there is kind of a breakdown of the men's draw. Look, are we going to compare the routes to the final? I think round 1, Zverev probably has the hardest match there in Lerner Tien. Djokovic has Mackie McDonald. The 2nd round, everyone's kind of got, I would say, a pretty equal spread. The 3rd round, I would say Zverev and Djokovic have the hardest matches. Both would play Canadians, Felix for Zverev and Shapovalov for Djokovic. And then in the 4th round, it starts to get real. And apologies if my voice sounds a bit weird. Allergy season is real. It's a hallmark of the French Open being here. But yeah, so 4th round is when it gets real, obviously. Sinner can play Fils or Rublev. Alcaraz can play Shelton or Tsitsipas. Zverev can play Dimitrov or Cerundolo. And Djokovic can play Humbert or Medvedev. So Yeah, I would say Sinner has the maybe toughest options, or Zverev, to be honest, with Cerundolo or Dimitrov. But after that, I think it gets pretty even. You got the quarterfinals, like Djokovic would have to play Zverev. Zverev would have to play Djokovic probably, and then so those are the two toughest. And then they would either winner of those would have to go through Sinner, and then the winner of those that would have to go through Alcaraz. So for Djokovic to win the French Open this year, if things go as they should, he would have to go through the third, first, and then second seed to win the title. I don't know how many times that's happened in tennis history. I would guess very, very, very few. And with the level that he's been at, it's hard to imagine that happening. I'm sorry, Nole fam. I'm just speaking the truth. So prediction time. I think Carlos Alcaraz is my pick to win, and shouldn't be that shocking. That's a safe pick, I would say. He's a favorite. He looks amazing. He's rejuvenated. He's winning. He won Monte Carlo. He won Rome. He made the semi. He made the final of Barcelona. Um, yeah, he's in the best form coming into the French Open, and he's the best player on clay in the world, in my opinion. So, how will he do? Will he feel that pressure? I don't know. In the 5-set format, he's always handled pressure incredibly well. So, I think that makes him a pretty safe pick to win. I believe also Betway has him as the odds-on favorite to win. Let me just confirm that. Um, But yeah, Sinner is right there as well. Can Sinner win a major off of a hard court? That's the question I would say for him. It's this one I still think is his least likely to do that, but yeah, we don't have the odds up here exactly, but but Sinner doing well here wouldn't surprise me. He lost to Alcaraz in the semis last year. But getting to the semis again, Alcaraz isn't on his side. So if you get to the final, it's two guys who know how to win majors, who have done it multiple times and are young and are the two best players in the world. So I think everyone's going to be secretly hoping for that. Um, they are the two odds-on favorites. We got it by a long shot. We got him here. Alcaraz at plus 125, Sinner at plus 175, and the next guy is Zverev at plus 750, Casper Ruud at plus 1200, Djokovic at plus 1200. Again, Lorenzo Musetti being disrespected at plus 2,500, but that's the name of the game. You got to prove yourself, and these players will all try and do that at the French Open 2025. So we will have more of a breakdown of the draw on the women's side in days to come as the tournament gets rolling. But for now, that is all from the slice. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. Shout out to Betway and Go Sport, our presenting sponsors. We will see you next time here on the show.